Today, we embark on an intense and gripping journey through the life of one of the most controversial and polarizing figures in all of human history, Adolf Hitler. Some remember him with horror, others with fascination. But no matter what your view is, his life story is a mixture of ambition, setbacks, towering dreams, and devastating consequences. From an innocent little boy in a quiet Austrian town to a man whose actions shook the very foundations of the world, this is Adolf Hitler's story like you've never heard it before. So, grab your headphones, sit back comfortably, and get ready to dive deep into a chilling yet powerful tale. This journey won't just improve your English, it will keep you glued till the very last second. Our story begins on April 20th, 1889, in a small town called Braunau im Inn, nestled near the borders of Austria. It was here, in the modest home of Alois and Clara Hitler, that a baby boy came into the world. They named him Adolf. No one in that quiet town could have imagined that this fragile newborn would one day command the attention of millions and be responsible for events that would forever stain human history. As a young child, Adolf seemed like any other little boy. He enjoyed playing in the outdoors, doodling with pencils and crayons, and letting his imagination run wild with dreams of the future. But beneath that boyish enthusiasm, life at home wasn't always peaceful. His father, Alois, was a strict and controlling man. He believed in hard discipline and wanted his son to follow in his footsteps, to work for the government, to secure a stable and respectable job. But Adolf's heart beat for something else entirely. "I want to be an artist," he would often whisper to his beloved mother, Clara. She loved him deeply and supported his creative ambitions, but she was powerless to challenge Alois's iron will. Their household was often filled with heated arguments and cold silences. Alois would shout, "Art is not a real job," while young Adolf sat quietly, holding back his tears. At the age of 13, Adolf's life took a sudden turn. His father died unexpectedly. Some people believed this would finally set the boy free, that he would now be able to follow his passion without resistance. But the loss carved a deep wound in his heart. Instead of freedom, he felt emptiness. He started skipping school, slowly drifting away from studies. Teachers noticed the change. "Adolf is intelligent," they'd say, "but he lacks discipline and drive." His grades slipped. The only thing he seemed to care about was art. Eventually, Adolf left his small hometown and made his way to Vienna, the cultural capital of Austria. He was filled with excitement. "Vienna is where my dream will come alive," he thought. He applied to the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts, but when the letter of results arrived, his heart shattered. Rejected. The school deemed his artwork below standard. Devastated but determined, he tried again the following year. Once again, rejection followed. His dream was slipping through his fingers. With no school, no job, and no clear direction, Adolf's life in Vienna turned bleak. He moved from one cheap, dirty lodging to another. Sometimes he had no roof over his head. To survive, he painted postcards and sold them to tourists on the streets, barely scraping enough to eat. Loneliness crept in, bitterness began to grow. "Why is the world so unfair?" he would think. During this dark time, tragedy struck again. His beloved mother Clara passed away. She had been his only pillar of love and support. Now he was alone, heartbroken, and angry. It was during these years of struggle and isolation that Adolf started developing dangerous thoughts. He began blaming others for his failures. "It's not me," he told himself. "It's them." Then came 1914. The world stood on the brink of a massive conflict. World War I had begun. Adolf saw in this chaos a new purpose, a new chance to matter. He joined the German army, eager to be part of something greater than himself. As a soldier, he felt alive. Finally, he thought, I belong to something important. He was brave on the battlefield, delivering messages through dangerous war zones. For his courage, he received 2 medals, a rare honor. But in 1918, the war ended in defeat for Germany. Adolf was furious. "Our leaders betrayed us," he shouted. He believed Germany hadn't truly lost, that it had been stabbed in the back by its own weak leadership. His anger simmered, waiting for an outlet. Returning to Germany, Adolf found a country in shambles. The economy had collapsed, hunger was widespread, jobs were gone, people felt humiliated by the terms of the peace treaty, but in that pain and despair, Adolf saw opportunity. He joined a small political group called the German Workers' Party. He quickly stood out. His speeches were fiery, filled with rage, passion, and promises. "Germany will rise again," he declared. Crowds grew. People began to listen. His voice gave them hope and someone to blame. Adolf took control of the party and renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, later known simply as the Nazi Party. He even created a bold symbol, a red flag with a black swastika. "This," he said, "will be the most powerful emblem in the world." His rallies grew larger, his words louder. But so did the danger. He blamed minority groups for Germany's suffering. He called for a pure Germany, one without those he labeled as enemies of the nation. In 1923, he made his first bold attempt to seize power. It was called the Beer Hall Putsch, a violent coup to overthrow the government. But it failed. Adolf was arrested and sentenced to 9 months in prison. While behind bars, he wrote a book, Mein Kampf, which means My Struggle. It laid out his beliefs, his vision, and his hatred. The book gained popularity. Slowly, more and more Germans began to agree with his ideas. After prison, Adolf rebuilt the Nazi Party. By 1933, his influence was so strong that he was appointed Chancellor of Germany, the highest political position in the land. The people cheered. They believed in his vision of jobs, order, and greatness. But they didn't know what was coming. Once in power, Hitler moved fast. He controlled newspapers, radios, and schools. He built roads and factories. He promised prosperity, and on the surface, Germany looked like it was rising again. But behind that image, he was silencing all opposition. Those who spoke against him were jailed, or worse. He formed a brutal security force, the SS, and a youth organization called the Hitler Youth to spread his ideology. Swastika flags filled every corner of the country. Hitler declared, "Germany is the greatest nation on earth. We will lead the world." Then, in 1939, he made his most aggressive move. He invaded Poland. This action triggered World War II. Hitler's ambition was clear: conquer Europe and dominate the world. At first, German forces were victorious, but it didn't last. As the war dragged on, Hitler's list of enemies grew, and in the shadows of battle, he orchestrated something horrifying: the Holocaust. His regime began the mass murder of Jews and other groups he considered inferior. Millions were taken to concentration camps and killed. It was one of the darkest crimes in all of human history. By 1944, the war had turned against Germany. The Soviet Union attacked from the east. The United States and Britain advanced from the west. German cities were bombed into ruins. The people who once cheered Hitler's name now suffered under his rule. In his final days, Hitler hid in a bunker beneath Berlin, and anonymous letters from Hitler headed the bunker beneath Berlin. He was paranoid, angry, and isolated. His longtime companion, Eva Braun, stayed by his side. On April 29, 1945, they married in that dark underground chamber. It was a quiet ceremony, surrounded by only a handful of loyal followers. The next day, April 30, Hitler made his final decision. "I will not be captured," he told his aides. He and Eva entered a small room and ended their lives together. When Soviet soldiers entered the bunker, they found their bodies. A few days later, on May 8, 1945, Germany officially surrendered. The war in Europe was over. But the cost was beyond measure. Cities were in ashes, families destroyed, and the world was left grappling with the horror Hitler had unleashed. Adolf Hitler's ambition to make Germany powerful had instead plunged it into darkness and despair. The world vowed never to forget. The Holocaust, the war, the hatred, they became symbols of everything humanity must never repeat. And so, his story stands as a warning, a reminder of how dangerous hatred, unchecked ambition, and the thirst for power can be. Every decision we make, every step we take, leaves a mark on the world. Let us choose love over hate, compassion over cruelty, unity over division. History is not just about what happened, it's about learning how to build a better future. This was the story of Adolf Hitler, a man whose life changed the course of history, for better or for worse. A story of dreams, destruction, and lessons we must never forget. Thank you for staying with us through this powerful tale. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping historical stories that not only teach you English, but open your eyes to the past. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep learning.